What's good, everyone? This is Max de la Cruz, and you're about to listen to the Man Cave Live with my guest, Thierry Lindor. You can get my book, Becoming a Cornerstone in the House That Love Built. Links are in my bio, and you can tune in for the Man Cave Live every Thursday at 9 p.m. Have a good listen.
How's it going, man?
Hey, I'm blessed, black, and highly favored, my man.
That is great, man. That is great, man. I was telling everybody how you are like an international mogul, a speaker, motivator. You're like half man, half amazing. So I said, you know what, man, I have to have you. And I'm really, really happy that you're part of, that you're my guest for this event, for this edition of the Man Cave.
Thank you, my pleasure. Can you hear me good? Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you good. Yes.
Okay, so I'll take those off. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here, Max. And listen, anytime a brother, a positive brother, is trying to do something good for the community and good for himself in terms of creating content, I'm always going to be there. That's what I do.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. And before we get into anything, I just want to say happy birthday to your daughter, because I know it was her birthday on the 20th.
Thank you. Thank you. That's very nice of you, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate that. She just turned 7. She's getting big.
Yes. Yes. Actually, our daughters share the same birthday. So mine turned 4, yours turned 7. So
Really?
yeah.
Man.
Happy birthday.
We both make amazing queens.
Exactly. And how are you living this confinement now that you have to celebrate the birthday indoors? You can go outside, you can do anything. How did you guys handle that?
You know what? It's a great question, Max. It was pretty rough. It was pretty rough, not for me as much as it was for her. I think kids are, I said this recently on a post, I think kids, I don't know if we realize the impact that this COVID-19, this pandemic is going to have on kids overall. So it was a bit rough for her. She couldn't see her friends. She wanted to. We had to break down why she couldn't. So, but Zahra at 7, I could tell you, is definitely fully aware of what's going on. She gets it. You know, she's confined. She can't move. But we have to be extra loving, extra hugging, extra physical attention in terms of hugs and kisses. And we spent it as a family, and that's what matters. Everybody's healthy, so we're blessed.
But that's perfect. But that's great, because us too, at the beginning, they didn't really quite understand it. At first, they were like, okay, well, we have day off from school, day off from daycare. And then all of a sudden, like after a couple of weeks, they're like, okay, hold up. Well, what
We
are we
want to
doing?
go back.
So we have to break it down to them as also.
Great point.
Yeah. Okay, so quick question for you. How, you know what? I'm not going to tackle, actually, I will dab in between like your personal and also business life.
Okay.
Feel free to tell me like, I don't feel comfortable answering that question because I'm sorry.
I could talk about anything. I live my truth. Nobody holds my truth against me, King. I'm an open book. I don't mind.
All right, perfect. So, how important is family for you? We know that you're business oriented, you're goal driven, and we see you a lot on social media. How much is the factor of family? Like, how much weight does it hold in the balance for you?
That's a great question. I come from a family of 10 kids, same mom, same dad. So family is obviously very, very important for me. My father was born in Haiti and grew up in Chicago. My mom is this little French, 4'9" kind of French lady. So she pushed out 10 kids, right? So to me, family is everything. We grew up in a very strict household. My father comes from the Duvalier regime in Haiti. So they left the Duvalier regime to go to Chicago. So growing up, I grew up in a strict household with a white mother that didn't fully understand certain things that my father insisted on, but it was always done in a loving way. So these values of family, when you grow up with 10 brothers and sisters, 9 brothers and sisters, actually, you have no choice but to develop selflessness. So you can't be selfish. You have no choice but to grow up sharing food, sharing clothes, sharing your bed. You know, I never had a bedroom to myself. Never, literally, all the way till I moved out and went abroad. But for me, family is everything. So, you know, I have 3 kids. I've always said that I'm going to give them a better life than I had. And as much as I had a great life, my father used to always tell me, shame on he who doesn't do better than his father. So I grew up with this pressure of doing better, but not better financially as much as being making sure that I produce constructive citizens, constructive black and brown citizens that were going to do better than me. So I put a lot of pressure on my kids for that. I teach them certain things that most people probably don't teach them. But family is everything. If I don't have my kids right now, I don't know that I could do the things I do. Or I would do them for different reasons. I would probably do them strictly for profit, which now I'm not doing so many things for profit now. If it doesn't have an impact, I'm not going to do it. I don't have to anymore. So I'm good. So if I do something, it's because I feel it might bring value to someone or to a certain community. And if there's profit along the way, good. If there's no profit, that's fine.
Okay. And so you said you come from a family of 10. So do you mix family with business? Because oftentimes when you see you going forward and doing your things, sometimes since you have like 9 siblings, like, do you mix family and business, or you try to keep everything separated?
You know what? I'm gonna tell you something funny. I used to mix family and business a whole lot. I've learned not to anymore. Everybody except 2 of my brothers haven't worked for me. Everybody, every single sister. So that's what 7 out of 9 brothers and sisters have worked for me. Like they were on payroll. They've literally worked for me, whether it's my real estate business, my telecommunication business that I used to have, my influence business now, consulting, so on and so forth. But one thing I've learned, and if I could give this to your audience as an advice, is the problem when you mix business and family is you get emotions attached to business decisions. And I know for a fact that I've made bad business decisions based on emotional responses. So I've learned not to mix even my step family, my sister-in-law, her cousins. It got ridiculous to a point. It was more like a family, they say family owned, but I forgot that it's business first that happens to have family member. I used to have family first and then business. So I've always prided myself on creating a family, but it's one thing to create a family with the people you work with, and it's a different thing to incorporate your family just because you want to give them a job. So that I'm not doing as much, just to stay focused and to maximize impact. If you want to maximize impact, you got to make non-emotional decisions. And I was not able to do that optimally. So I don't hire family anymore.
Okay. So now my second question off of that. So you said they worked for you and you do not hire family. So does that mean that you have to fire them?
Exactly. I've had to fire, and I'm the worst at firing people. I'm very bad at I'm very bad. You know what I've realized my strength is, and I say this a lot when I get a chance to speak, wherever I speak, internationally or locally, is an entrepreneur at the base. In French, le mot entrepreneur, ça veut dire to start something. When you say j'entreprends quelque chose, it literally means to start something. So sometimes we complicate and convolute entrepreneurship, and I see it done a lot in women entrepreneurship, LGBTQ+, black and brown entrepreneurship, my Latin brothers and sisters entrepreneurship. We tend to complicate entrepreneurship. We feel like it's economic, it's financial. No, entrepreneurship just means to start. And in startup, Terry, I got an idea for a startup. The amount of people that come up to me and talk to me about ideas for startup, the key word in startup is start.
True.
Most people think, oh my God, you gotta fucking start, man. So many people stay on the sideline, but they don't get in the game and they don't get to play. So for me, one thing that I've learned to, does that make any sense?
Hold on, it froze on my end. Could you say that again one more time?
Yeah, so I'm good at having a vision. I'm good at like laying out a plan to take over the world and to start something that's going to have impact. But I need to have key operators with me to execute on that plan. So I know my strength, and my strength lies in having the vision. So if I could give you an analogy that I give a lot in conferences, I'm good at having, let's say, I'm the architect and the guy that draws the house. I'm not good necessarily at digging the hole, pouring the concrete, bringing up the carpentry, putting the roof together. That's not my strength. I'm not that good at that. I know how to get that done. I know how to do it because I've done it for myself. I've done it by myself. But I'm not necessarily the best operator, which goes back to your question, Max. I'm not good at firing people because I'm not the best operator. So I need to surround myself with people that are going to be able to manage the day to day. I'm more like a guy that's going to think about the next steps in the future and how to scale businesses and how to start businesses and how to start movements. But the daily operation, that's not my strength. And I'm able to recognize that. So firing people is not an easy thing to do. I've had to do it, and it's created some rifts. You know, I've had to fire. I have a brother that I don't talk to anymore. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, facts. Hey,
Real.
I'm gonna have an honest conversation with you. I'm gonna have an honest conversation, right?
That's what I want. That's what I want.
But the good news is I got eight. I got 8 other brothers and
You got
sisters.
8 other sisters.
Exactly. So I got one that I don't speak to anymore, and I got in-laws on my wife's sides that I've literally hired, and because it got to the point where now I gotta fire you now, it literally divided. So I have in-laws that I don't talk to as well. People on my wife's side of the family that I don't talk to as well anymore. Wow. And yeah, so that I'm not the best at that for sure.
And do you think that you had to fire them? Then afterwards, I'll leave them alone. But do you think that did you think that you had to fire them because they were too laid back and they were not delivering, or they were not in the right position to do the work? Or do you think that it's because it didn't click?
Listen, ultimately, I think as a leader and as a visionary to a movement / company that you start, you always have to take ownership for whatever outcome. If it's the same way you're going to be the first one on the newspaper, the first one in the media, the first one that they're going to clap for. Yeah. Clapping goes both ways. Clapping can be positive, and if you're from my culture, clapping can be negative as well. You get clapped, you get shot, you get killed, right? So that I think that I have to take more blame than them for them not doing their job, or me feeling like they're not doing their job. So it's one thing to say I'm going to put them in a situation to win. It's another thing for me to let them slack off so much that they can't help the company win anymore. Does that make any sense?
That makes great sense.
So I could sit down and say, well, I had to let them go because they weren't selling as optimally as they were. They weren't, doing what they were supposed to do. But I'm the leader. So if I'm going to be the one to set the tone, I should never let them get to the point where I have to fire them. Right? So that's why I've come to realize I'm definitely not the best operator, Max. I could own up to that. I am not able to put somebody on an action plan. For anybody that's ever worked in corporate America, right? You do something wrong, your boss comes up to you and say, oh, yeah. Hey, Terry, Max, I'm going to put you on an action plan or else I'm going to have to fire you. Ain't nobody got time for that. Like, to me, it was like, no, you work for me. You should respect me, and you should work even. That's how I am. If I work for a family member, I'm going to work twice as hard. But 90% of people, if they work for you and they're your family, they don't have the reflex to say, oh, this is Max. I'm going to kill myself for him. They're going to say, oh, this is Max. It's okay if I come 2 hours late. Yeah. So I'm going to take the blame for that. I'm not going to blame them as a leader. It's my fault that they were put in a position that I had to let them go.
Gotcha. All right, I want to read a quote, and I want to have your input on that quote, all right? So a great man said, an entrepreneur brings value to its company, and an influencer brings value to its ecosystem.
No.
Which one of the two are you? And why?
Man, you did your homework. Yeah, I said this
come on, man. I was not going to wait.
The first time I said this was at the Gary V event when we had, shout out to Gary, who might not be on this call, but is a great guy, been a great mentor of mine. So Gary V, one of the first time I got on a call with him, and I wanted to convince him to come to Montreal. When I got to New York and I made the pitch to Gary, he said, why would I go to this event called Influence? And I said that in my opinion, and that was back in 2016, 17. So now I feel like the word influencer has gotten a bad rap, like influencer or what's an influencer, whatever. But I was saying that back then. To me, my definition of an entrepreneur was somebody that competes all the time, right? And an influencer, a real one, somebody that I've never considered myself. I've never said, Terry, I've never said that. I hate that word. So it's kind of something that somebody gives you. It's a title people give you. They say, oh, you have influence in my life. You have brought impact into my life. Thank you for sharing content. And what I found to be the truth was true influencers. I'm not talking about the guys, you know, lifting weights and the gals on the beach in a bathing suit. And
Yeah.
I'm talking about the people bringing value to their communities. To me, influencer was the next level of entrepreneurship. And you see it right now. Like, look at our elected officials. Justin Trudeau's not the best politician, but he's probably the most influencer type of politician we've seen. Donald Trump, as much as I don't like the guy, he's a reality star that's ultimately an influencer that's in power. Elon Musk is more of, almost now he's become more of an influencer than an entrepreneur. So I truly believe that entrepreneurship, the next level of entrepreneurship, is influencer, but I would twist the word today. I much rather use a person of influence instead of the word influencer, because everybody shoots it left and right.
Yeah.
And kids nowadays, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an influencer. What the fuck is an influencer? Yeah, I tell them all the time. Anytime I speak at universities, like, what are you talking about? So what you want is to be an entrepreneur that is big enough to galvanize attention and to eventually be given the title of somebody of influence. And then once you get that title, to me, to whom as much is given, much is awaited of. So yeah, that to me, if I had to tweet that today, I wouldn't call it influence. I would say a person of influence more.
Agreed. And question for you. Do you know the movie Back to the Future?
Yeah, it's a classic.
All right.
McFly.
So let's take the DeLorean 2 seconds. I have a question for you. So what would you say, with all the knowledge that you have right now, to the young Thierry Lindor, who's in Saint Leonard, all right, and he's about to go do his first sales pitch to an elderly couple about their duplex? What would you do? What would you say to him? Maybe that he did wrong, or something that he would use to up his game.
Actually, you're good at this. Yeah, yesterday I blasted Dutrisac for being a racist with my brother Ismael. Man, they need to fire his ass and get you hired. You're asking good questions, King. That's an excellent question. What I would tell myself, if I could go back in time, that's an excellent question. And I was meeting an old couple. That's your question, right? If I'm meeting an old couple.
Well, basically, I'm just referring to the story of, I think, your first pitch as a realtor.
Oh, you're good. So my first ever, you're good. My first ever duplex, I was 19 years old.
Yeah.
And bought that with a partner. And then at 21, I'm driving down the street and I see right next to I still own that duplex. Shout out to I have a partner now on that duplex on Desiree Street, right next to the Shopping Gus.
Cool.
And yeah, man, Gino Deca. Yeah, he's hitting me with the 1-2 punches, man. He's strong, man. He's strong. Shout out to Angie. Angie's on this call too. Shout out.
What's up, Angie? What's up, Gino? Gino was the guest last week. What's up, guys?
Gino, so 1-2 punch. Yeah, I would probably shout out to Cindy also with the makeup. I would probably tell myself they don't really care about you being black. Because I remember when I walked in, because I knocked at their door. That was a cold call, like a cold knock. And I remember thinking, man, they're not going to give me a fair shot because I'm black. And I think that kind of prevented me from being as aggressive in negotiating as I thought. But what I realize now in hindsight is that was a perception that was made up by me, for me. You know, they say FUBU, for us, by us.
Yes.
That was a perception that was made for me, by me. It was not necessarily their perception. I'm not saying they didn't have any bias. Don't get me wrong. These are the first, that transaction, you're talking about a couple that was, probably 74, 75 years old. So for sure, they grew up and the N-word was used. They grew up La Révolution Tranquille. They grew up with, for sure they had biases, but they were not as accentuate. They were not as aggressive bias as I thought they were. So the one thing I would probably whisper in my ear coming out that DeLorean is, hey, Terry, go in there, swing it. Don't worry about how you look. And when I was 19, I looked like I was 12. So to me, I was like, They're going to think I'm like some thug. I came up suited up, knocked on the door. Hi, how you doing? I want to buy your property. And I think I would have probably taken myself, I would have done myself a favor if I wouldn't have gone in there assuming that they were racist or assuming that they were not going to give me a fair shot. Because I ended up buying the property. But I don't know that I got the best deal because I was uncomfortable. So that's probably what I would tell myself.
So were you, from what you're saying, would you say that you were self-sabotaging yourself?
100%.
Yeah.
Man, Max, man, Trizac needs to go. I was not just self-sabotaging. I say this all the time. I tweeted this recently, and my Twitter and my social media for me is like it's like a book. Like I share my thoughts, I share what I feel, I share what I think I would like to learn, what I would like to know. And what I did, Max, is I said a couple weeks ago, my mental health is non-negotiable. I don't negotiate with my wife. I don't negotiate with my partners. I don't negotiate it with my friends. I don't negotiate with my enemies for sure. And I don't even negotiate it with myself, because most of the time, if we negotiate our own mental health and we analyze our mental health, some of the most detrimental words or attitudes are actually caused by us and for us. I don't know about you, but I talk to myself all the time. I don't like, hey, Thierry, do this. But in my mind, I talk to myself. I don't talk to anybody else, not my kids, not my wife, more than I talk to myself all motherfucking day long. So
I do both, internally and externally.
Oh, you're more so I'm too paranoid, right? So I'm not even. My father used to talk out loud to himself. Like I was like, whoa, I grew up around a dad that would talk like, Dad, are you okay? And I kind of got not traumatized, but I said, man, I'm never gonna do that. But I know for a fact I talk to myself, and I will get to a Deloitte conference. I'm gonna get to the United Nations or G20, and then I tell myself I'm not worthy. And I catch myself doing this. Like, what the fuck are you saying? I'm not worthy. I catch myself telling myself, man, a young man from Hochelaga Maisonneuve in Saint Michel can't be doing everything he's doing. And I realize sometimes I literally have to catch myself and smack my mind to make sure that I don't destroy my confidence. So, I think that's a great question. Self-sabotaging is a reality for a lot of men. I'm not, and I'm going to speak from a men perspective.
Yeah, that was the next question.
Yeah, I think a lot of us men, we have a self-sabotaging attitude, also because of male toxicity.
Yes.
Yeah, I have trouble with that word. I'm French, right? So I feel like that's something we deal a lot with. Women as well, I'm sure. But men, oh my God.
More. Yeah, men more, because we keep everything internally. Society hasn't made that we need to be strong, we need to be tough, we need to be rough. So mental health, depression, or everything like that is just like, we're not supposed to talk about that.
Marjorie says women self-sabotage. Yes, don't get me wrong, Queen. I'm not saying, but Max just hit the nail on the head. I think it's this smell, toxicity, la toxicité masculine qui fait que we always trying to prove ourselves. So we're trying to, well, I'm no pussy. I'm a breadwinner. I could do this. So I think we also, in a certain way, we're so taught not to express our feelings, even to our loved ones, to our queens, that eventually we kind of go back into ourselves, and then it gets very dangerous, because that's why statistics show men commit suicide a lot more than women, because we have a problem with sharing, and that starts with sharing with our own self. We share with ourselves more negative stuff than positive stuff. So I'm sure it's both ways, but I'm just speaking from my male's perspective as to having difficulty and feeling empowered to be vulnerable. So that's why all the queens on this call, you guys are so important to us, specifically Black and brown male. We cannot be the best versions of ourselves and be the best version of the husbands or the spouse we can be for you, to you, if we don't feel like we could be vulnerable. So the best thing I've ever encountered was Black and brown queens, Latin, Arabic, Black, that are able to say, hey, you could be vulnerable. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel not worthy. Share, talk to me. And that's the best gift y'all could give us, queens. If queens could give us that, we could be the best version of us in supporting y'all.
Totally agree, because I think my wife has been working on me for like 12 years, telling me that, okay, it's okay to talk, it's okay to express your
Oh,
feelings.
man, you're blessed, man.
It's
Bless
a
her
tough thing,
soul.
so
Bless her
it's,
soul.
yeah. So, and Nero said, our inner voice is so much more powerful than that we realize, and it's so true. Like,
Facts. Taina Je Crois, shout out to her, man. Taina Je Crois has probably been one of the most positive stranger I've ever met in my life. I didn't know who she was. First time I met her, she came and she did a keynote kind of competition we had. She did a tremendous job. She was going to speak at the event with Malala, and she came out straight swinging and like, you, my man, you are an impactful brother. I care for you. You matter. So big shout out to Taina Je Crois. I just saw her on your chat. And we need that. The same way we need to support our women. We need to be better husbands, better men, better fathers. But there's a big component of having that rock and having these queens support us. And it hits different when they look like us. You see what I'm saying? Because I think, Max, you Haitian, right, Max?
yes, I am.
So you grew up with a mother that probably, smacked you upside the head like mine. But my mother was white, but I grew up with my friends in RDP in Montreal North, and they were like my moms, right? C'était les mamies, c'était leur mère, mais c'était mes mamies. So they used to be very rough with us. They weren't the most, So I think this new generation of queens, they could definitely, and they're doing a tremendous job of supporting us. So I know I stand on the shoulders of Black and brown women across Quebec and across North America.
Totally agree. And again, big shout out to Taina. She was one of the persons who told me that I should actually launch and do this man cave live. So awesome. Big shout out to you. She's really great. If you don't know her, follow her. She's amazing. Yeah. Now I have a two-part question now. All right. So let's. I know you're goal-driven and oriented.
Yep.
So I want to go back a bit in the past. So you, in order to finance your dream or finance what you believed in, you decided to sell your house,
your
car, right? And maybe other things. I think your land also. You had the land that you wanted to build on, right?
Yeah.
So you sold all of that to put into your vision or your goal. So so that is a two-part question. So the first part question is, how did you know as an entrepreneur, as a businessman, that this was the thing to do?
That's a good question. And that's the first part or the second part?
The second part is, how did you convince your wife to agree to do that?
Man, this is an excellent question. I was living in, mind you, I'm back in the house actually. I'm back in the house that I've lived for. I've had this house for like 12 years now in Old Montreal. I left this house I bought a lot, and I bought a house in Bois-Franc. That's in Saint Laurent, and bought a townhouse and was gonna build our dream house and all that stuff. And one day I just woke up and I was like, man, if I'm gonna keep living my life just for profit, I could keep doing this, because I don't want to toot my horn, but I'm decent at real estate.
Do it, man. Come on, we have to meditate. Do it. Come on.
Yeah, I'm decent at real estate, but real estate wasn't fulfilling me as much. And back then I owned Remax Griffintown. I was the first ever Black owner, 100% owner of my own office in the history of Quebec. I'm very proud of that. And I did it on purpose to do it in a downtown area, because I could have opened an office in Saint Michel. I could have opened an office in Montreal North, but I said, no, I'm going to open one downtown to prove to the entity called the Remax Quebec that I could do it, and I could do it well. And we had the fastest growth. We went from 3 brokers to 32 brokers in less than 18 months. We grew so exponentially that literally the head office were like, wow, this guy has a magic recipe and we should maybe study what he's doing. But very quickly, I realized that I wasn't feeling fulfilled. So the office was successful. The business was going well. We had everything. Like I had a Tesla, like I had everything. Everything you can imagine, I had it. So, but I didn't feel fulfilled. I didn't feel like I was having as much of an impact. And I could tell you for a fact that I remember the day that my social activism, what I like to call active citizenship, started. and there was a shift. I went to hear Barack Obama speak.
Okay.
That was
Okay.
2016 or 2017. And by then I own Remax in town. We're doing well. I live in beautiful house, building the future one. And Barack Obama said something that I will forever ever remember. He said, "Now that I am done with this office, the only thing I will do for the rest of my life is dedicate myself to being an active citizen." And I never heard that term before, to be an active citizen. I was like, what the fuck does that mean? What does that even mean? But it resonated with me enough that I looked it up and I dove in. And then active citizenship is kind of you being a non-elected official, a non-public servant, and trying to do your best to move the needle forward for the most vulnerable, the most marginalized. And that started with me saying, let me start a conference company or a communication company called Influence that would push diversity forward. And let me also start a My Voice Matter, where I pay kids to read books, and Prosperity Acquisition Fund, where I buy back, before they even had, buying back the hood was a thing. I started to buy back areas in Park Extension with partners in Saint Michel to say that I'm not going to let them gentrify me. I'm going to auto-gentrify myself. So that started for me. And then I woke up one day and I said to my wife, I'm going to sell my house, sell everything, and I'm moving back downtown. And I got separated, actually. So to answer your second part of the question, I don't talk about it that much, but since we say we're going to be truthful and honest, I got separated for about a year. I was on the brink of divorce. Yeah. Almost got a divorce. And you want to hear a real silver lining to this fucking COVID-19 mess?
Yes.
Right before COVID-19, we weren't together. So if it wasn't for COVID-19 and kind of like literally not forcing us, but almost saying, hey, you got no choice. You're going to be quarantined and you're going to learn to discuss and talk things over. And all you have is your family. So we were always respectful. We always coexisted, but we were just not together. It was just not working. And a lot of this came from my selfishness of, oh, I got an idea. Now I'm going to sell shit from the family patrimoine because I built it, so I could sell it. It's mine, right? Yeah. And just up moving my family and saying, all right, we're moving, and selling everything, right? So she wasn't okay with that. And she was right in hindsight. But as an entrepreneur, when you got a vision, I was blinded by my vision. I could 100% admit that I made an emotional decision to quickly uproot my family, but I don't regret it because I truly believe I am where I'm supposed to be, and my family today is stronger than it is. I don't know what's going to happen between me and my wife. We are in great terms, and I love her. She loves me back, but I know for a fact that I am where I'm supposed to be, and I'm having the impact I'm supposed to have for my community. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you very much for sharing that. That's amazing, and
no problem, man.
What to say. And Marjorie wrote that is power in the troubled water. And for real, I think this COVID-19 situation, it brought you guys together, and I think it's only the beginning. And I believe that you guys are going to be able to come together and in unity. I believe in the power of unity. I believe in the power of unity, and God is going to work His way. I believe that. So, quick question: how do you? I'll ask you bluntly. How do you differentiate the real ones from the bullshitters? Because like being able to DM, being able to connect to everybody, it's so easy now to connect with everyone. And from my personal experience, when I was trying to do a project, you may or may not remember that I wanted to do a conference project. And I reached out to you, and you were like, yeah, sure, here's my phone number. I think you were going away for a bit. We were going to the airport. Finally, that project didn't come through, but it was so easy to have your access. So I'm just wondering, are you this accessible to everyone, or are you able to filter through all this mess? Hold on. Did you hear it? Can you hear me?
Oh, that was me, right? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool.
I can hear you.
Do you want me to repeat the question, or are you good?
I think you asked me in a digital space such as the one we live in, how how do I differentiate the real ones from the fake ones?
Yeah, like the people that are just trying to gain something off of you. Like, how do you decide to associate yourself or collaborate with people? Because everyone on social media, everyone's an entrepreneur. Everyone can have like 50,000 followers, but that's not true. So how do you negotiate? How do you navigate through that?
Hey, listen, one of my assistants had the best idea ever. She said, you know what, Terry? I think you have the point. And that was never the goal for me. I never wanted to become a speaker or do all that stuff. I really was genuinely, literally, in my opinion, I want to bring value to people that don't have value. I want to give them a voice. So in my platform, the goal was to give the Taina Jacqua an opportunity to speak on the same stage as Malala, right? If it wasn't for the COVID, a lot of people don't know this, but now I could talk about it because it's not going to happen. March 13th, Vice President Al Gore was coming to Montreal, right?
Oh.
Yeah, Vice President Al Gore, Greta Thunberg, we were part of the team that brought her to Montreal. So I know for a fact that I created something that now has the attention of the international community. So I know for a fact that when I reach out to someone, they answer us now. Why? Because I was able to create a platform that has demonstrated the value that it could bring to the recipient of my messages. I think the big problem in a lot of people that slide in my DMs, and there's a ton of them, is they always think in terms of what can I get once I collab with Thierry?
Yeah.
And one thing that was established by one of my assistants that was so good, she said, let's start a platform. So I didn't have a website until 2 years ago called thierrylindor.com.
Yes.
And now everybody that slides in our DM, we send them there. And you know what happens with that? I swear to you, Max, a lot of people go, well, why? You can't confirm now. You can't confirm. And it creates a barrier of entry for the bullshitters.
That's
Because
good.
if you're really real about wanting to have a conversation, you're not gonna mind. You're not gonna see this as an insult. No, this is a platform. And we learned that, myself and my assistant, by dealing with Charlemagne the God, by dealing with Gary V, by dealing with, and by adding INC to your name. The problem with a lot of people is they don't treat their brand like a business. And one thing I've learned to develop is the ability to add INC to Thierry Lindor. So Thierry Lindor Inc. Forget influence, forget everything else. You want to talk to me, would you call Hydro-Quebec tomorrow and say, hi, I want to speak with Sophie Brochu? No. Would you call Tesla and say, hi, I want to speak with Elon Musk? No, you would not. So if you happen to reach Elon Musk on Twitter and he answers you, he's still going to refer you to a platform to book an appointment, right? And then for anybody listening to this saying, is he comparing himself to Elon Musk? You're fucking right, I am. Because you should. If you're going to treat your brand like a business, business is business. If we know each other personally, good. I'm gonna take the time. You're in my life. I've brought you value. You've brought me value, maybe by just listening to me when I was going through a tough time. So that makes you intimate. That makes you a friend. But if we're starting a business relationship, the best way to filter the bullshit, that's the first step. You put that barrier by adding INC to your name, create that website platform. And for me, like I told you, I think back then, very early on, I signed with an agency. So a lot of time right now, what ends up happening is people say, hey, Thierry, we'd love to have you speak at our event. I tell them, I said, is the event free? That's the first step. Because those are the rules. The rules are simple. Yeah. When you sign with an agency, the first question is, are your events free? If your events are not free, if people are paying to go to your event and there's more than 50 people, by contract with most agencies, not all agencies, but the one I'm signed with, you are not allowed to speak at that event unless they go through the agency. So the first step would be incorporate your name, act like you are a brand yourself, beyond the brand you've built. Your company, your first company and your first shareholder is you and your mental health and how good you feel about the collabs that you do. And the second part was for me to sign with a company. And once I signed with that company, anybody asking me to speak or collab, I got to go through them. And also, investigate the people you're about to collab with. So I didn't have time to investigate everything you do.
I'm legit. I'm legit. I'm legit.
Exactly. But my team did. So my team
Yeah.
started to look, hey, this guy, when he creates content, you had done a video where you were like fighting people and everything. I was like, you could see the quality. So you could see that you were invested into your brand, into what you were pushing out. So that told my team that that's a collaboration we might want to do, because he's not going to disrespect his brand and he's not going to disrespect your brand. And it has nothing to do. People tend to think, oh, well, you're looking down. But it's not about looking down. It's about looking up. If I might elevate your brand, you should elevate my brand, and we should elevate each other together. So that's what it's about. And very quickly, you see the fakes. The fakes don't follow up. The fakes, they take, they don't give. The fakes are also not professional. They don't show up on time. They don't necessarily follow up with what they say they're going to do. And they're never willing to work first. They want value right away. Oh, do a podcast, or do an interview, or let's do a video together. And then when you say, okay, so how about you do this, and that for me, they're too busy, right? So I've learned to do that triage very fast. And thank God, because in Quebec, woo,
There's a lot.
there's a whole lot of
to
people.
filter.
They're entrepreneurs. That's what I call them. Not entrepreneurs. They're entrepreneurs.
Yeah, that's the thing, because entrepreneurship was kind of is now the cool thing to do. Everybody's an entrepreneur, but when it's time to put in the work, when it's time to put in the effort, not a lot of people show up, and that's the problem.
Especially in our communities, unfortunately. I'm
Yeah.
sad to say, but in our communities, Black and brown communities, and by brown, by the way, that's anybody that is not white. So if you're Asian, you're brown. If you're Latina, Latin, you're brown. If you're indigenous, you're brown.
Yeah.
And then white folks as well. But I think even more into the Black and brown communities, we have such an history of fighting for crumbs, or fighting what we feel like they're leaving us.
Crab bucket mentality.
Exactly. We have the crab mentality. And I love what my girl Tiffany Calendar says all the time. It says a lot of Black and brown people, we operate from a space of scarcity instead of a space of abundance. Because when you operate from a space of abundance, I'm not worried about taking some clout from Max. I know that if I collab with Max, with Taina, with Angie, with Olivia, I know that whatever collab I'm going to do with her is going to bring me value, and vice versa. But when you operate from a space of scarcity, you're always scared you're not going to have enough. So you're always trying to get your own, right, Gino? Right, Marjorie? And when that happens, that becomes very dangerous, because it doesn't become a win-win situation. It becomes what I like to call a zero-sum game. You could add everything. I add your time, my time, it still makes zero. I add our collaboration, it amounts to zero. I'm trying to make sure that whatever collabs we do, multiplication we do, addition we do, is going to end up amounting to a positive number, not zero. Zero-sum games I'm not interested in. Agreed.
I totally agree with that. This is straight fact. I couldn't have said it better. I totally agree with that. Quick other thing that I wanted to ask you. Okay, so let's say, because I see on the feed a lot of people are writing and a lot of people are loving it. So quick question, like what would you say to, because we talked about our community operating from a space of scarcity. What do you think would be the steps for people to do it? Because a lot of people have great ideas, but they don't do it because they say they don't have money. They don't do it because they don't have such and such. They don't do it because the white man is against them. So what would you say would be like some easy 1, 2, 3 steps that someone could do to at least begin the steps? Because personally, I don't believe that because you have lack of funds that you can now make something. If you have lack of vision, you can now make something happen. If you have the vision for it, there's nothing that money cannot stop you. So what would you say would be your take on that?
The first thing you got to realize is, I love that you touch on vision. I always say vision is for the people that can see. Some people can't even see. So how are you going to give them vision if they can't even see? They're blinded, right? The first step I could tell you is, I'm going to give you the advice my dad gave me. My dad used to tell me, au royaume des aveugles, le borgne est roi. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is king. And that is something so powerful that a lot of us, when you operate from a space of scarcity, You're proud to be the only lawyer in your area. You're proud that you got a job at Deloitte and you are suffering. I'm proud that I got myself a Benz and you got yourself a Toyota. I'm proud that I got my wife a big diamond and, you know, you're barely getting married dans un sous-sol d'église. We got to start to change our paradigm. We can't hang out with people that are doing worse than us or as good as us. And that stems from racism and, more importantly, what I like to call plantation mentality. So my Dominican brothers and sisters, my South American brothers and sisters, anybody that got brought from the East Coast to the West Coast, we came here with oppression stamped on our soul, right? 400 years to be more precise. So when we are staying amongst ourselves, it's also a way to shield ourselves from disappointment. Because if we're both on the plantation and we're both struggling picking cotton, think about this. I'm not better than you, you're not better than me. But at least I'm able to, at night, sleep with my two eyes closed, and I'm able to say, at least I got a roof over my shoulder and blah, blah, blah. But then you have what's called, it's facts, right? You have the drivers. The drivers used to be the horsemen that would whip the people on the plantation. And that would be like the system, or sometimes some people were black. Those drivers were black. If you take the analogy of Django, that's Samuel L. Jackson.
Yes, yes.
And we have to stop being Django's with ourselves. So if you are a Django, then go fuck yourself, in my book. But if you're going to be on the plantation, you might as well have the vision to run away. And you might as well have the vision to say, if I'm going to be a slave, I'm not going to die on my knees. I'm going to die on my legs. And I'm going to take my chances at entrepreneurship, which would be the equivalency in 2020 of saying, I'm taking my chances at running away. I'm going to be a runaway slave. Because even if I fail, at the very least, I'm going to try to have my own plantation. You are not going to tell me who I can marry. You are not going to tell me what jobs I could do. I don't want to pick cotton. I want to pick cacao. I don't want to pick cacao. I want to start a brewery. I want to have a leather company. So the first step is really realizing that if you are in the land of the blind, you could feel good about yourself, flaunting your car and your house and your wife and your fake this, fake that. Yeah. At the end of the day, if you're the smartest guy in your circle, then you're surrounded by a bunch of dumb people. You need to change circle. And in our community, once again, it's that plantation mentality where we'd rather have security than trials and tribulations. We'd rather be accepted by all than being flagellé in public. And I've never been scared. You want to hit me? Go ahead. I'm a Django type of black man. You have to kill me. I will not stand down. I will not lay down. I'm the kind of Negro you would have had to shoot. So for me, I have comfort in knowing that I surround myself with black and brown people that are more powerful than me. Not to say that I don't have friends of mine from my neighborhood. Growing up in Saint Michel, Montreal North, and Hochelaga Maisonneuve, I have tons of people that are not doing as good as me. I just don't spend as much time as them now that I have a family that I used to be. When I used to be playing basketball, because I played basketball for a long time in my life, it's okay to hang out and try to, go to parties, dance, and pick up women. But now I'm a grown-ass man. I want to build a legacy. I want to have impact. It's a lot more important for me to get certain people elected from my community, and that means spending time with people that have more influence or more power than me. That would be the second advice. And the last advice is be careful what you accept from people, because when you accept certain things from people, you're teaching them how to treat you. So that's something I had to learn, where there's some things I will never accept from people ever again, but I had to accept it once. So I go back to the plantation analogy. You could whip me once, twice, but the third time you better make sure you kill me. Because if you don't kill me, I'm that entrepreneur that I will spare no expenses at crushing you on the field of entrepreneurship or on the competitive aspect of life. So surround yourself with the proper people. Do not have this scarcity approach. Be wary that there's abundance for everybody. Do not be also overkilled by this. Racism is real. like real.
Yes, it is.
But don't let racism or discrimination be the driver of your own story. I know for a fact that when it's all said and done for me, people are going to say, man, with everything that was going on in our society, Thierry Lindor tried to do things and try to make moves that we've never seen in Quebec. That to me is more important than saying I got $1 billion. To me, I'm more like a Michael Jordan in the way I see things. Michael Jordan might not be the richest basketball player in the history of mankind, but he'll be the most impactful one because he stood up to so many things and because he retired in his prime and then came back and still won. So I'm more worried about making an impactful move. And if you're getting started, those would be the key, I would tell you. Surround yourself with people doing better than you. Put INC to your name. Add incorporated to your family name. Definitely approach a lot of situation like a plantation and try to understand why are you in the plantation, why are you running away and being a trendsetter and a change maker like Harriet Tubman instead of staying on the plantation feeling comfortable with your situation. And then last but not least, once again, have vision with people that can see and surround yourself. Build a team. That's very important. Build the right team around you.
Wow. This was amazing. I think there's no better way to conclude that. I think these were keys that even for myself, I need to apply. And sometimes it's so easy to make it seem like we have everything in order. But what you just said is so powerful. Adding the INC to our name and treating ourselves like a brand. Sometimes, even if I can speak personally, like sometimes I'm thinking to myself, well, okay, it's just me. It's okay. It's all right.
Okay.
That mentality has to change. And even for me, while you were talking, it was speaking to me. So
and that's Max. That's the most powerful brand you got. Your family name is De La Cruz, right?
Yes.
Bombardier is a family name. Sabotage is a family name. Gucci is a family name. Versace is a family name. I could keep going on. The Bronfman family, one of the most powerful family in Quebec, is a family name. I could keep going on. Guy La Liberté is a family name. So why wouldn't you treat yourself and your brand, the most important brand, which is you, your name, your first and last name? Why wouldn't you treat it like a company? And that, to me, in the specter of time, is what's very, very Rockefeller. Yeah,
Rockefeller.
I could keep going on. But these brands are all brands. We have brands we consume today that are family names. So to me, the first brand you should always work on is yours, and then following that, then the businesses you build. But I got some time, so if you want, we could take questions from your audience if that might bring them value. I got time.
Okay, hold on. Let me see if you guys have any questions, feel free to write them in the question box. I'm not sure if everyone can see the question box. I know last time it was a little bit difficult, so hold on. Let me just scroll in the comments in case someone wrote a question.
And I'm going to assist because that's what we do as basketball players. I'm going to assist Max while he's doing that, scrolling for question. Y'all need to go right below my face right there. Man, look at this. My beard doesn't even connect.
Come on.
Oh, Max, you got to give me a trick. What's the trick? Ladies, do you have tricks for my beard to connect? I said I'm not going to shave until this pandemic's over.
What?
If y'all see right below my face, you're going to see like a little interrogation box. You guys need to click there and then type your questions, and Max is going to be able to highlight the questions. So don't just write them in the comments right here. Click that box, type your question, and then press send. Max is going to be able to share it with everybody.
That's it. Otherwise, if let's say you do not see the box, because I know a lot of people were not seeing it last time, we can also, I can also try to get them. So, okay, Olivia said, so why do people feel jealousy when one succeed if they are okay at being comfortable? I'll let you handle that.
So why do people feel jealousy when one succeed, well, because I think jealousy is an easy feeling. I think it's easy to be jealous, and it's natural. Listen, I got kids. Anybody that's ever had kids, you see very quickly at a young age, your kids get jealous of you, right? So, oh, mommy, that's my mommy. At 2 years old, my 2-year-old will fight my 4-year-old and my 7-year-old because she's jealous of the time, right? And I think jealousy is such an easy
But hold on, let me tell you something. Hold
Yeah.
on. 'Cause we are about to go off because there's like 10 seconds remaining. So we're just going to log off and then we're going to
Oh,
log
no.
right back in.
All right,
So
cool.
we'll
Cool.
go do
Let's do
that.
that.
So
Let's do
everyone,
that now.
yes, hang in there. We're coming right back.
I'm going to
Hold
see you
on.
right there. All right.
All right, we're coming back. We're going to start the second part of, I guess we're going to call this the Q&A. So we're going to allow you guys to log back in for your questions. What's up, Angie? All right. What's up, everyone? Atta Podcast. I did Atta Podcast. This week is going to come out in a couple of weeks, so be on the lookout for that. All right, wifey, my brother-in-law. What's up? What's up? All right. What's up? Mike, Kicha, how you doing, Prophetess? Wawa, Rob. All right, so let me invite Thierry, and we're going to start a period of questions. So, like we said, if you do
Your questions in the comment box. Write your questions in the comments, and we're going to be able to answer the questions.
Hey.
All right. You hear?
Yeah. So the question was, if it's so easy to be comfortable, why do people are easily attracted to being lazy? And not lazy, sorry, being jealous. So why is jealousy so easy if people are just comfortable? And my answer to this is, I think it's in our DNA. Jealousy is easy. It's an easy feeling to contract to. It's easy for me to feel jealous of Max, who's doing a live with somebody I would like to have on my live on IG. But Max did all the work necessary to be there. And I'll give you the best analogy. Like I said, my kids get jealous of my time. It's tough to support someone, man. It's tough to cheer somebody on and say, yo, you keep doing you, King. I'm impressed with you. I support you. You are important. You matter. Look at the first time somebody decided to invent a bicycle. The person that invented a bicycle logically was trying to get from point A to point B fast. And then somebody got there faster than them and said, you know what? I need a bicycle. And then the wheel was invented. And then you could go with that analogy of innovative kind of people innovating because of being jealous of one another, right? So a car, the same thing. So we're always in a rush for time. Optimization of time, I think, is in human DNA. We always try to save time. And the fastest thing you could do when somebody succeeds, the fastest thing you could do is hate on them. It is easy, it is simple, it is quick, it is super quick. But supporting is tough. Supporting is taking the the stairs instead of the elevator. Supporting is walking instead of biking. Supporting is building your own house instead of hiring a contractor. So supporting is tough, and I think jealousy is just in our human nature. As much as we'd like to all say, oh, I'm not a jealous person. Everybody's jealous. Everybody has some form. The difference is some people don't act on that jealousy and don't turn jealousy into envy. And the problem is when it becomes envy. Envy, now that's a sin.
But I think also the thing about the support is that a lot of people, it seems, or it looks, or well, personally, that's how I feel. It feels like the people, because they're giving props to someone else, whether it's in the same field or something else, you feel like it's going to steal the light from them. Like, it doesn't remove anything from what you're doing to give props to someone who's doing something great.
Oh, Max, this is so gold. This is golden, and you're right. It also gives you, for men, that's what men, I don't know about women. I know women can be jealous with one another, but I know for a fact that men, the idea of giving another man props almost makes us feel weak.
Like giving blood for 5 hours.
So if he has a nice house, I'm going to get a better house. If he has a nice wife, I'm going to get a nicer wife. If he has a nice family, I'm going to get a nice family. It's like, when does it end? So for me, I'm so focused on my grass and mowing my lawn, I got zero time looking at somebody else's lawn. I'm literally, and it has to do also with your level of security. I am so secure with myself, Max, that I could care less what kind of 8-pack you got, what kind of car you drive, what kind of people you are surrounded with, who you have in your network. I know the value I bring to me first, to my family second, and to my ecosystem and the people that I love a third.
Agreed. Atta Podcast wrote, there is enough abundance in this world for all of us. We're all in this together, and that's true. Like, we're supposed to be able to collaborate. We're supposed to use each other's skills and big up each other. So if you're not good at, let's say, I don't know, graphic design, then hire your brother who's good at graphic designing instead of doing a whack flyer or
Yeah.
white. We need to do that. We need to support each other. That's it. And it's not difficult.
Tanika Gittens, Miss Gittens, yes. Miss Gittens, basketball superstar, head coach at the Concordia. Great example. She got the job at Concordia University as the head coach. You think nobody got jealous of her? Tons of people probably got jealous of her. But you know what? They didn't see the amount of work she put in to get to where she is. That's also another thing. So people are not secure with themselves, and they just see the iceberg. It's easy to see the top and say that's how they got to where they get. You don't look at below. So, and at our podcast's point, if everybody thought like you, brother, man, we'd live in a
better place.
Unfortunately, that's not the case.
True. Marjorie wrote, I think it's a question for you. How do you deal with the pressure when so many people suddenly get in the same field of business than you?
Ooh, that's an excellent one. Marjorie, Queen, let me tell you something. When I got in real estate, I've been in real estate since 2003. Man, Jesus Christ. I've been in real estate since 2000. That's 17 years ago. When I got in real estate, there were no black people in real estate. Zero. None. Zero. After literally doing 9 years with Century 21, when I went to Remax, there was even less black people. Remax was like the antithesis of diversity. There was zero diversity. What I could say to you is this. If you look at the amount of black and brown people that are doing real estate today, I don't want to toot my own horn, but 90% of them, or 80% at the very least, the Pareto law, 80% of them have either sent me a DM or called or gotten a mentoring session with me asking me, Terry, how's the real estate industry? Would you advise me going into it? And they might not admit it, but I know for a fact that my contribution to that part was, if I'm able to make real estate look so good and so fun that you feel like you could do what I do, I'm doing an excellent job. And the problem is, when we see other people get into our space, we tend to contract. We tend to hibernate. I actually feel like if you get in my space, I'm going to go extra hard.
Harder, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a competitive guy. So having played basketball all my life, you get into my space, it's on like Donkey Kong, man. The best is going to survive. And I'm no chump. So to me, I ain't never scared of competition. You get in my lane, it's called my lane for a reason. And I'm not saying this to be pompous. You can never do what I do. Because everything I do comes from my white Parisian mother from France, la petite Parisienne qui a marié un homme haïtien, qui a grandi à Chicago. My father being taught by Maya Angelou and instilling in us some black kind of values, Afrocentrist values. So everything that makes me who I am today has nothing to do with you. So you could do a kombucha. You could do a cooking, right? If I'm a cook, you could open a restaurant. Your restaurant will never be mine. Not that I'm better than you. I'm me. I am organically, genuinely me. If I have a podcast and you start a podcast, your podcast is not going to be like mine.
Exactly.
And that's strength. When you realize your strength is in your DNA, and by DNA, switch up DNA with spice. I like that word, spice.
Oh, yeah.
So Max's spice might have a little oregano, might have a little clou de girofle, might have a little garlic, but mine might have a little bit of onions and so on. So if you switch DNA with what makes you you, then you should never fear competition, because they'll never do it as you. Now, equal opportunities, equal outcome is totally separate. So we might have equal opportunities, but I will forever feel like whatever outcome comes out of what I work for will always surpass what any competition has. Because opportunities, and that's the problem. The problem in Quebec, and sorry to segue into this, the problem is not equality of outcome, because you can't control that. The problem is equality of opportunities. Shout out to Marcus. Marcus Troy just joined the convo. So, for example, Marcus is a great example. If you give a platform on CBC, considering everything Marcus has done for himself, by himself, with his squad, with his tribe, he would explode Tout le monde en parle. You know why? Because Tout le monde en parle were given an opportunity, and now today they have great outcome. But opportunity, that's the problem in the space where we live, is not given fairly to everybody. Because if you give equal opportunity to Black and brown people right now in 2020 with the creative essence, the elixir in our body, which is called creativity, is what differentiates us from everybody else. When I look at Michael Jordan in Last Dance documentary, I don't see an athletic man. I see a creative man that happens to be athletic. When I look at LeBron James and what my boy Maverick are doing, I see entrepreneurs that happen to be good at basketball. When I look at Kanye West, creativity. When I look at Bob Marley, creativity. When I look at Denzel Washington, creativity. When I look at Barack Obama, creative politician. So the power that's in our vein is creativity. And when we understand this, and that's why I think the next generation of us, so when Marcus has kids, when Taina has kids, when Cindy has kids, if we could teach them to embrace creativity, when your kid comes up to you and says, I want to create videos on YouTube, don't smack him upside the head and tell him to be a lawyer.
Lawyer, engineer.
Yep, because even the lawyers, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. Right? Remember that line?
Yeah.
That was Johnny Cochran getting O.J. Simpson outside the biggest murder trial. That is creativity. So you could put any position where you put equal opportunity, you will see unequal outcome, because our outcome will be better than the people that currently have opportunities. And I will take this to my grave. I will take this to my grave. If I give you the right means to have an optimal podcast, Max, let me tell you something. You would shit on 90% of podcasts out there. Wawa, basketball coach on sick. Somebody I grew up with. Wawa was given an opportunity on sick. Guess what he did? He smacked that ass. He started to smacking asses of guys that have been doing this for years. You know why? Because Wawa is creative.
Yeah.
He might not know it himself. He's creative. It's in his DNA. Same thing with, shout out to Moses. Moses is an entrepreneur. If you give Moses the opportunity to get in the right space with his CEO, the president, the chairman of his board of whatever company he works with, he's going to shine because it's in his DNA, on top of being able to survive. So having that survival mentality of being more like Django's versus like Samuel L. Jackson's kind of plantation Negroes, and knowing that once we're given opportunities, we should expect different outcomes, but we just need that opportunity. And if they don't give it to us, fuck it, we'll create it.
You have to make
That's
it.
what I tell people all the time. Fuck it, we'll create it.
True. And my wife wrote, even if two people are using the same ingredients, it will still be different. This is how much we need.
What's your wife's name?
Cindy.
Cindy, listen to me, Queen. You're 100% right. You could give me a pot, and you take a pot, and we follow the same damn recipe. It ain't gonna taste the same. And I'm going back to Marcus, because that's a great example in the Black and brown community. You know how many people try to do what he does? You know how many people say, hey, what does he do? Oh, he does this, he does that. No, not everybody's going to create an adult clothing line, Armoire, right? Not everybody's going to be collaborating with MasterCard, with Cadillac, but that's what he does. You get the same opportunity to the same person that's not Watson, that's not Wawa, they might not make it. Same thing with Cindy. Same thing with Taina. You could put Taina on a stage and say, you're going to talk about passion. You're going to talk about branding. And you give them the steps and what they need to talk about. One person is going to tank on the stage, and the other person is going to perform. One is going to swim, one is going to sink. And that has to do with personality. It has to do with so many things, the way we were brought up and the way we were encouraged to do things versus not do things. So at the end of the day, creativity is the only thing that Black and brown people have that we should hold on to and defend. We should defend our creativity at the risk of our lives. I'm telling you this, bro. And I mean this. When we realize this, I've come to realize that the secret weapon of Black and brown people, and it comes from the sun. I'm not trying to get too, prophetic here, but it comes from all that melanin in our skin. The sun gives you power, gives you strength. I told this to my son. He went through a racist event, and I told him, I said, it's in our blood. I'm not even trying to say we're better genetically or whatever, but we're more creative. That I know. We got rhythm. Our kids are born. That's creativity.
True, true. What would you say? I know what I would say, but I want to know what you would say. Following up on before when we were talking about making yourself the brand,
Yeah.
making your last name the brand. So, what would you say to someone who's not really, because not everybody has the gift of communication. Not everybody is, would say, not cocky, but has self-esteem to sell themselves. So, what would you say to someone that would be like, okay, well, I know I have to be the brand, but I'm too shy to say that I'm the best in my lane, or I'm too shy to step forward and proclaim that basically it refers back to self-sabotage. But what would you say to that person who's not really tiptoeing between telling people I'm the shit and telling other people, well, I'm just good at what I do?
So I said this recently. A lot of people, one of the most questions, the question I get the most often is, Terry, how do you start a good startup or a good company? And we talked about this earlier. In the word startup, there's the word start. So the first thing you got to freaking do is start. That's the first step. But in starting a great company or a great movement, there are 5 key components. The first one is timing. Is the timing right for you to start something optimal? The second component is the team. The third one is the idea. Most people focus on the idea. The fourth one is the business proposal or the model of your organization or your movement. And the last one is money. The last one. So whenever I hear people say, I don't got the money, what that speaks to me right away is, you know what? I am never collaborating with you and we are not doing nothing. Because if you got time and creativity, then you're good. Because time is the ultimate commodity, as cliche as it sounds. And if we're creative, we're gonna figure out the right idea. So to go back to timing, is the timing right for whatever you're starting? So my first question is somebody that says, I might not have the personality to do something. Before you start to get into this, is the timing right for whatever you want to start? And I'll give you a good example. TMZ. Look at TMZ.
Yeah.
TMZ 25, 30 years ago, the timing is not right. A bunch of people in a newsroom behind the scene with weird camera angles doing the news? Fuck no, that never works. That would never work, right? But today the timing is right, and now everybody's trying to do like a TMZ style kind of thing. The second thing I would tell you is the team. The team. If you're not going to be the front guy, if you're not going to be Steve Jobs, if you're not going to be Elon Musk, what you have to understand is behind Elon Musk, there's a team of like 5, 6 guys. These guys run Silicon Valley. Actually, there's 11 of them. They all come from PayPal. You could look this up. There's 11 guys. I think they're called the 11 Wonders or something. And they all come from PayPal. The only people we talk about are Elon Musk, as well as Peter Thiel and a couple of people. But there's literally 11 billionaires right now in Silicon Valley that started with PayPal, and they had the right team. And it doesn't matter what they would have done, they would have been successful. Same thing with Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs was the front, but Steve Wozniak was behind. A concrete example on culture, Michael Jordan. I truly don't believe, and that's facts, there's no Michael Jordan if Scottie Pippen's not there. And there's no Scottie Pippen if Michael Jordan's not there.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
So the team, the first thing I would say is if you have a great idea or you feel like, well, you know what? I'm good at filming, but I'll never be good in front of the camera. Well, you'll be shocked. Surround yourself with the right team and the right opportunity will come. You think P. Diddy, when he started this business and started with Biggie Small, he said to himself, one day I'm going to have an album. One day I'm going to sing. No, he says it all the time. I was the producer. I was the guy that got the people together. And one day Biggie said, you know what? You got what it takes. Go in front of the camera. And then the story was written. The story was written. So another component, very important, understand your niche and your role. And by this, I mean, I've had this discussion with Marcus before and with Nazca, his brother, with Steve Daniel and a lot of other people that are in the space of impact and branding, collaborating with brands. At the end of the day, you could do 2 things. You could create content and you can curate content. So if you're not good in front of the camera, you might be extremely good at writing. And what you should do is potentially curate content. I see videos right now of people I follow that curate information, meaning they're not creating anything new. They're mining the internet for quality information, and they are reading a perfectly written text. You see it in the podcast game. Everybody's going towards the interview style podcast. But that takes a certain skills. You got to be good. You got to have the personality to interview people. But you know what's an underrated cycle of podcasting? The curated podcast. So finding out historical pieces of like murders, of let's say somebody tomorrow from our community. They're not good at like improvising or communication, but they're great writers. How about they start a podcast on the history of Black contribution in Quebec, en français? L'arrivée des Haïtiens pendant la Révolution tranquille. How la Révolution tranquille was literally French people in Quebec losing. Ils étaient en train de perdre leur province in the 60s to Anglophones. They used to tell Francophones in Quebec, that's a true fact, Max, in Quebec in the 50s, 60s, and 40s, if you spoke French, you look that up. Everybody that's on this right now, look that up. They used to write "speak white," and you know what "speak white" meant? Yep, look it up. You look it up. I'm an historian buff, so I love my history. Yep. If you were white Francophone and you spoke French in front of white Anglophones, the Anglophone whites used to tell the Francophone white, hey, you, speak white. Speak white meant you had to speak the language of business, and the language of business for white folks was English. So what that ended up happening is when they got the Révolution tranquille, if you were a Francophone, you were oppressed, which is something that I find mind-boggling. I don't understand if you felt oppression, how you could oppress people today. And what they did is, the Francophone whites, because they got out of the Industrial Revolution following the World War, they had priests and they had a bunch of people that were good to build shit, but they didn't know how to build shit. So what they did is they got all of the minds of Haiti, all of the minds of the Francophone diaspora, the engineers of Haiti, the teachers of Haiti. You have the Anglades of this world. Dominique Anglade's dad is the first, literally, he founded an entire institution, one of the biggest universities. Nobody talks about that. Our uncle was the first Black police officer in the history of Quebec. So they went and they took a bunch of intellectuals to bring to Quebec because they needed our brain cells. But nobody talks about this. Nobody talks about this because the Francophones used to be oppressed and used to be treated like second-class citizens. So they didn't feel like they had the knowledge to do anything great. So that's why. So imagine this, to go back to the point, because now I'm diverting, right? Imagine if Blacks, somebody that's on a podcast, instead of doing all these interview style podcasts, one of us said, you know what? I'm going to dive into historical facts that nobody wants to talk about, and I'm going to call it the Underground Railroads of Canada podcast. And I'm going to write that shit down and I'm going to read it because I'm shitty in front of the camera. And I'm going to put a bunch of pictures. Do you think this podcast would succeed?
Oh, good.
It would be a home run. So this is a clear example of if you don't have the skills to do, to be on the front end, to be the face of something, you might not be the best communicator. The analogy I could give you is for a church. Not everybody could be a pastor, but you could talk to any great pastors in the States that have a big congregation. They need a team to build a great sermon.
Yes.
Right? They need a team. They can't do it by themselves. So they need a team. Okay, we're going to research this passage of the Bible and this passage. And I'm not a religious guy. I don't go to church, but I know how churches work because I know how organizations work. So you might not be the CEO of the company, but they might need a COO. They might need a chief operating officer. And I think we need more chief operating officers in our community than chief executive officer. Everybody wants to be a chief. Nobody wants to be an Indian.
Everybody wants to be in front of the camera, whether they have the skills or not. They just want the limelight. That's detrimental. But how do you before I start looking at the questions, but how do you, because we spoke about teams, so how do you build a team? Like, do you randomly, I know a lot of people sometimes they turn to family members. Okay, well, you're going to help me with this and that. And we've discussed that sometimes it might not be the best option for what you're trying to do. But how do you find the right people to connect with you to walk into your vision that which you have?
Listen, I want to give a big shout out to Ramil. Ramil just joined the conversation, and that's going to speak exactly to what you're talking about. Ramil used to be a professional basketball player, right? And long story short, Ramil transitioned from being a basketball player to wanting to be an entrepreneur. And what he did is he started to attract. I always say this. You could do client acquisition or client attraction. I talk about this all the time. And client acquisition is tough. Meaning if I want you to start to consume influence and buy this hat, I got to spend money on Facebook. I got to spend money on marketing. I got to try to convince you. I got to try to sell you this hat.
Yes.
But I think that there's a different way to do marketing, which is client attraction. Instead of acquisition, client attraction. So I could also create a lot of dope content, bring Charlemagne the God, Angela Rye, T.G. Jakes, Vice President Al Gore, Greta Thunberg, Malala, Grant Cardone, and then you're going to say, hey, what the fuck is this logo on Terry's head? Suddenly you don't, I'm not acquiring you, I'm attracting you to my brand. And the same goes with building a team. Tomorrow, I could start to headhunt people, slide in their DM. Hey, how you doing? I have an idea. I have a concept. Do you want to, we're going to change the world. This is the best thing ever. And that's acquisition of talent. Or I could start focusing on me and trying to build something that's going to bring value to people that are paying attention. And that's going to attract talent. So quick fun fact for influence, everybody that's ever worked for me now full-time has been an intern with us. And every single intern we've ever had has been somebody that has come to our conference, experienced our conference, and said, yo, this is fucking amazing. I want to be part of this. So I like to brag that we attract people to us. And when you attract somebody, it's the difference between me selling you something and you buying it. I'm going to say that again because that needs to sink into people's head. It's the difference between me selling you a product and you buying a product. Nobody wants to be sold because selling is attached to being hustled. Man, this guy hustled me. He just sold me something I didn't want. But if you buy it, correct, Max Mopres, you're right, brother. You're right, King. It's value proposition. How much value am I bringing you that you feel you want to work with me? That's the difference between client acquisition or talent acquisition and talent attraction or client attraction. I always focus on attraction. And I want to segue into this because this Monday coming up, I'm going to announce probably the most impactful thing I've ever done in my life. Ever. More impactful. And I'm breaking it on your interview.
I appreciate that.
Bro, more impactful than Malala in Montreal, more impactful than Greta Thunberg in Montreal, more impactful than Vice President Al Gore, than Charlemagne the God, than anybody I've ever worked with. And I'm going to announce it next week, Monday. And I truly believe that once I announce it, I'm going to get flooded with people saying that are going to be attracted to that movement, that are going to be attracted to wanting to be part of this. And the one thing I can say is I call it a digital civil rights movement. And I truly believe that, Max, that back in the 50s and 60s when Martin Luther King and Malcolm X and Rosa Parks and all our great leaders back then, when they felt like they were onto something, they joined force and they said, you know what? I might necessarily like you, but I understand that this is bigger than me. And I found something that's bigger than me. And the platform that I'm announcing next week is going to be something that my kids could probably say, Thierry Lindor created this for us, by us. And I genuinely hope that me and you could collab in the rest of your audience. And that's a clear example because Monday or Tuesday when I announce it, you're going to see a clear example of me attracting you all to what I feel is going to be impactful for Black and brown Canadians for centuries to come versus me just saying, hey guys, by the way, this is what I'm doing. Support it, follow it, blah, blah, blah. No, I'm going to show it. And then you're going to be attracted. Build it, they will come. Like the Romans say, right? You build it and they come.
Nice. Okay, so Monday at what time are you going to announce it? Is it going to be on your Facebook? Or?
Hey, because that's the with technology. I don't want to. I don't want to oversell and underdeliver. So stay tuned. I'm definitely gonna do a lot of announcement. And one thing I'll do is once it's announced, me and you are gonna have this conversation again, and then we could dive in and do a deep. Hey, look, 10:30 at night. People are still talking and asking questions.
Yeah.
25 people comes to 30 people because they feel like they're getting some form of value, hopefully, and,
Yes.
and they're attracted to whatever movement you've created, Max. So thank you for sharing your platform with you. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Well, let me see if there's any more questions. If anybody has any questions. By the way, for those who joined in, if you have any questions, whether personal or business related,
Hey, answering everything.
Yeah, answering all the questions. So go away. Feel free to ask them, even if it's for your own personal. Let's say if you have your own business or something that is in your mind, you can ask the question, and you know,
Hey, we talked about me almost getting a divorce. We could talk about anything.
we can talk about everything.
We can talk about anything. I don't care. We could talk about anything.
And you're gonna be back when everything's going to be settled and everything's going to be right, so we can celebrate all of that too.
Yeah, and you know what? Even if it's not settled and not, like I wish they would, it's okay. Because
Okay.
I believe the universe has my back, and I believe great things are coming, and because I firmly believed it, it's not a fake. I'm not trying to say, oh, I believe in the future. No.
Mm.
I'm willing to put in the work so that the universe gives me what I'm owed. And all I ever wanted was everything. I tell that to everybody. What do you want? All I ever wanted was everything. Everything that our ancestors didn't get, anything your parents didn't get, my parents didn't get, that's what I want. I want mine. And if they're not going to give it to us, by I'll be damned if we don't create it ourselves.
Exactly. Angie wrote, "Are you going to write a book soon?"
Hey, you know what? Funny enough,
You better.
I when I was in Japan at the G20, I had the opportunity to speak, and then they said, "Do you have a book?" So and it never crossed my mind. So for me, I think there might be a book one day, but I'm not the guy to write it. So I don't think I would write a book. I think that if I was to write a book, I would write it with a mindset of how can this help a young Black or brown person that grows up. Wawa knows my story because we grew up. Well, he knows a lot of my story. We grew up in a high school that looks like a penitentiary. Lucien Pagé High School. Shout out to them, but it's like a box where dreams go to die, and there's violence, and there's pimps, and there's thugs, and there's gangs, but you know what? The same way Brazil is the best soccer team in the world, when you have trials and tribulation, it creates something that forces you to use your we don't even know how to call it when you were young, but it forces you to creatively get out of what situation you're in. And everybody that hasn't died from Lucien Pagé today is a success, including Watson. So I firmly believe that that when that book comes out, it's not going to be written in the optic of selling books, but if I ever write a book, it's going to be written in the optic of saying, if a young marginalized kid reads this, or a young woman, or a young homosexual, a young transgender, a young indigenous person reads this, when they open that book, if I'm able to speak into their soul, my job is done. So the day I feel like I have enough things to speak into people's soul is the day I'm going to write that book. But before that, writing a book to sell books, because it's easy. I could write a book. I could ask Gary V to write the foreword, right? And then say foreword written by Gary V. And then I use my, marketing skills and branding skills, and then have an algorithm that retargets books. And newsflash, to be a bestseller in Quebec, you just need to sell 7,000 books. Like, there's 320,000 Black people in Quebec. Like, if I can't sell 7,000 just to my community, forget the outside community. Like, and I've done enough good things in my life, helped enough even white people, forget just Black or brown, that I know for a fact that I can resonate with whatever community, because my story is the story of somebody that came from nothing and had made something of himself. It's not the story necessarily of just a Black person or whatnot. So the day I feel like I have a book that could impact people's soul and make them do something,
Mhm.
actionable items, is the day I'm going to probably sit down with somebody more talented than me and write a book.
Will help you. All right. Someone is asking you, how do you measure your impact as an entrepreneur?
I measure my impact by the amount, to me, right? Not everybody else, but I measure the impact not by the likes, not by the comments, not by the share, but the amount of personal conversations I have with people following such, like, so we have this call, right? It's supposed to last an hour. Now we're going to go for 2 hours. There's going to be people that are going to slide in my DM. We're going to get on a phone call. We're going to have a conversation. And there's going to be tears shed. There's going to be truth. There's going to be vulnerability. That's how I measure my impact. How many people am I empowering to be vulnerable and share their truth? Terry, I almost committed suicide, but you said something that resonated with me, and I didn't do this. Now I feel like I'm able to do something. Terry, I followed your story, and that pushed me to quit my job. The amount of time, if I got $1 for every time somebody quit their job and started something, then I'd be a multimillionaire by now. So a big shout out also to Jackie. Yes, Jesse Vittoria has been a client of mine in real estate for years. A guy in the restaurant industry. He just joined the chat. A bunch of people now that I'm seeing on your chat that I know. Angie, Sammy's been joining our community, being somebody that's really participating. I love Sammy's energy. She's being inquisitive. That's how I measure the impact. The impact is more, I can't measure it as much as you guys give me measures to measure.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Like, I'm getting the feedback, and that's the feedback that says to me that I'm on the right path.
Cool. And Ata Podcast is asking, it's often said that you need to separate in order to elevate. So I guess he wants to know if you believe that's the case, if that's true.
100%. I don't talk to 95% of the people I grew up with. I don't talk to them either because they're dead, or if they're not dead, we just have different priorities. If they're not dead, they're not in jail. Because I was born in Hochelaga Maisonneuve, but spent a lot of time in Saint-Michel on basketball courts and at Manix Oriental. Shout out to the Oriental family, man. They saved my ass. I spent a lot of time there, Watson as well. I spent a lot of time in RDP with a family from Congo, the Landu family. They saved my life as well there. Choupi, Murat as well down there. Montreal North, a gentleman by the name of T. Claude that I don't know where he is today. I don't know if he's still alive. Big shout out to him. If T. Claude, you're still alive, you saved my life for sure. And your mother saved my life by taking care of me on several occasions. So to me, it's okay. I said this recently, it's okay to unfollow people, man.
Agreed.
It's okay.
Totally.
And it's not just digital, right? It's okay to press that unfollow button in real life.
Yeah.
And I never got to the point where I block anybody, but I think it's okay to block people too. If they're not gonna,
you need to let them watch this awesomeness, right?
If people are not gonna elevate you and that's where we have to be a bit more selfish. If you're gonna make me be the same person I was in 1999 or 2000, I wasn't a good person back then necessarily. So why would I want to go back to that? But if I see you really trying to emancipate yourself and shed yourself from that shadow, then yeah, we should be in one another's life and we should try to grow. But to me, if you're not trying to, elevate's a big word, right?
Yes.
But it's either you're going to level up or you're going to level down. And I'm not willing to level down because that's not going to do justice to my ancestors. And by ancestors, that means anybody with melanin in their skin that has died.
Mm.
That means your great-great-great-grandparents would be rolling in their tombs if they didn't see you doing the best thing you could do in this country, in this place where you're at. So I would not do myself any justice if I wasn't trying to be the best version of me. And the best version of me is just not stagnant. It's an evolving human being. And I have flaws. Trust me, I have big flaws. But I'm working on my
well, we all do.
Yeah, I'm working on my flaws. I'm not surrounding I'm surrounding myself with people that call me on my bullshit. That's also a very big part of my growth. So
Yes, that we absolutely need that. Like people that are able exactly to call you on your bullshit if you're doing something wrong. Not being surrounded with yes men or yes women that say yes to everything you say, because you're not moving forward if you do that.
And even from your spouse, you shouldn't be with a girl that says yes to you all the time, a queen that says yes to you. You shouldn't be with a king. For all the queens listening, if a king tells you yes all the time, he's not the right guy, because you don't make diamond without pressure, and pressure comes from disapproving with one another. It comes with having arguments. It comes respectful arguments. Don't get me wrong, because I'm seeing some of the queens right now saying, "Oh yeah, I'm a disrespect." No. I'm not talking about disrespect. I'm talking about disagreeing in a respectful fashion is actually 100% healthy, and it should not be considered healthy. It should be encouraged. And if you can't have disagreements with somebody that is secure enough to respect you while you're having a disagreement, that man or woman is not the right partner for you. The best couples I've seen are the people that are able to have arguments in a respectful fashion, because love goes up and down. Attraction, sexual attraction, all that stuff, it goes up and down. But respect, that's one you should never lose. You lose the respect, the relationship is over. From a sexual relationship, a personal relationship, a friendly relationship, a business relationship, if there's no respect, you're done. You might as well move on.
There's nothing, and that's the basis. And also sometimes I think people confuse disagreement or disagreeing to something to actually being disrespect. Exactly. Like, you're allowed to disagree with something and not being 100% en accord avec ce que la personne dit, but however, it doesn't stop you from building or continuing the relationship. You can't take every time that someone is disagreeing with you as an offense.
No.
And I think a lot of people do that. Like, they take it as an offense.
Oh, we sensitive. Black and brown people, we sensitive as hell. You disagree. Oh my God, you disrespecting me, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. But at the end of the day, that's me and my we got separated, me and my wife, for this. Mm-hmm. She called me out. She said, "You can't take our real estate and sell it." And I said, "Our real estate?" You see, like, my ego? I said, "Our real estate?"
You went with me shooting in the tail?
But she was right. She was right. At the end of the day, if our kids are growing in it, it doesn't matter if you bought it with your money. This is our, and she was right. She was 100% right. So you have to have somebody, a business partner, a friend, a true friend is going to call you out on your bullshit.
True.
They have to.
So, agreed. Hold on. Let me see if we have any questions. Hold on. Maybe we'll take two more questions. Otherwise, I think we can be there all night.
2 more. Let's go. Let's do this.
All right. So let me see if anyone has a question. Hold on. I guess everyone is validating everything that we're discussing about. I think everyone is agreeing. There's no questions in the question box, so that's good. So maybe let me do a quick round of questions for you, flash questions. So I was originally going to skip that. Oh, hold on. Okay. So Lady Renee said, "Where do you see yourself in 10 years?"
Oh, that's a great question, Lady Renee. Lady Renee, shout out to you for being a visionary and seeing into the future. In 10 years, if I don't see 10 Thierry Lindors and 10 Max and 10 Taina, 10 Angies, if I don't see more of me into the next generation, then I consider that I failed. I think that as Black and brown people, our job is to run this marathon as fast and, as more important, as far as we can, and then pass the baton. I might not be Prime Minister of Canada, and that's not my objective. Mm-hmm. But I know for a fact that the future Black or brown Prime Minister of Canada will have seen one of my videos of one of the content, will have went to one of our conferences. They will have consumed something that I initiated. And that's where I see myself in 10 years. Inspiring, most likely a woman, the first ever Black or brown woman to run this province or run this country, and not running in a capitalistic way like we see now, but kind of break the system. I think we're long overdue for a system. And I said this last week. I hope that the corona pandemic teaches us one thing. We can't go back to the system. We can't go back to the way things used to be. And if we do, as Black and brown Canadians, shame on us. This system has to be broken and turned around right now. This is the time. Trudeau right now is giving away billions of dollars like it's Skittles.
Yeah.
If there was ever a time for us to say, all right, enough is enough, this is it, we want our share. It's happening in the States, but it's happening low-key right now in Canada. And I'm not going to speak too much on that, but there's a couple of us really fighting the good fight. And if we're 3.5%, because that's what we are, black and brown people in Canada, we're 3.5% of the population. If Trudeau gives 100 billion, we should get 3.5 billion dollars. It should be proportionate because we never get a fair shot. So that's what I'm talking about, having equal opportunity. Equal outcome, we can't control.
Okay.
It's different. But you got to at least give us equal opportunity, because one thing we know how to do is if you give us shitty drinks, we're going to make cremas. If you give us shitty fucking produce, we're going to make a sick-ass rijonjon and a kick-ass tasso or kick-ass chicken. We know how to make the most with nothing.
True.
All right? So if we get our fair share, we're good to go.
That's amazing. True. And hold on, let me see if anyone has a last question that I could ask. Okay, so the last question is going to be mine. Okay, you guys asked enough questions, right? One of them. So we'll save it for another edition. So I'm going to tell you five names or 5 things, and I want you to give me the first word that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right, and then afterwards we'll end with a closing statement. And yeah, so first word of first person. Kevin Calix.
Important.
Journal de Montréal. One word, and you can say whatever you want. It's the man cave, so we talk however we want to talk. Or you can say more than one word if you need to explain
Because I
something.
would love to expand on Journal de Montréal, but disingenuous. Disingenuous would be the word.
Okay, all right. Basketball.
Life.
Real estate.
Means to an end.
Okay. Montreal North. That's the last one.
Resilient. The epicenter, the epicenter of Francophone blacks. You know, like if we let, sorry, I'm going to extrapolate on that.
Go ahead.
If we let Montreal North be disrespected, if we let Montreal North get the rap that they're getting right now, it's as if we would let the heart and soul of Francophone black community be attacked and not do anything about it. The same way gentrification murdered and killed NDG, Burgundy, and all these neighborhoods that are historically black owned. We have to stand up right now. Here's what you want to ask yourself about Montreal North. Everybody watching this. Are you going to stand on the right side of history when it's all said and done? Are you going to be able to tell your kids and your nephew and your nieces that you stood up for them, even if it's on digital media, that you spoke, that you shared an article, that you liked a post from Will Prosper, that you voted, not according to, oh, this looks like a cool vote. No, fuck that. That you voted with black and brown people's interests at heart. When it's all said and done, whoever did not stand on the right side of history with Montreal North, we should make sure that they get out of office and that they get murdered, politically murdered, publicly murdered, assassinated. If they don't stand for us, they are literally against us. So to me, if you right now are watching this and you're not, once again, on the right side of history, you're on the wrong side of history. So it takes 2 seconds to share an article by Will Prosper. It takes 2 seconds to share something that you agree with. If you don't agree, don't do it. But if there's a great article, you take the time to read it and it makes sense to you, be on the right side of history and tell your kids that you stood with a neighborhood that needed you to stand with it. Because right now, this is ridiculous. Being number one, that's the bullshit they send at us. We're number one for gangs. We're number one for prostitution. We're number one for drugs. Now we're number one for Corona?
How did I
let this happen? We're going to be number one for Corona, right? So last thing we were in the news for Montreal North is Chris Boucher from the NBA was from Montreal North. Yeah. Now we go from that to being number one in COVID. Like, come on, man. We can't let that happen. We're number one with COVID because our elected officials don't give a shit. And we have to get these elected officials out of office. We have to vote them out. And if we can't vote them out, we have to literally make them fear. They have to have the fear of God in their heart. That, holy shit, black, brown folks got together, and now this is not going to be easy. We might have a problem. So you can't You can't insult us anymore. And that's what I'm coming out with next week. Something to say, fuck you. Enough is enough. We're not dealing with this anymore. So next week, stay tuned. We're going to have something. We're going to, like Muhammad Ali said, we're going to shock the world. We're gonna shock the world.
That's great. That's amazing. For sure, I'll be on the lookout for that to make sure that I do not miss it and share it as much as we can. So everyone watching, if you can, you share it, spread the love, and we'll make sure that it creates the impact that it deserves. Cool. And before I go, I just want to say ahead of time, happy birthday. I think it's your birthday Saturday.
Oh, yeah, my God. Yeah, it is. Thank you. Thank you.
So, yeah. So happy birthday.
Sunday. This Sunday is my birthday.
Yeah, exactly. I thought it was the 2nd.
No, my birthday is the 3rd, May 3rd.
Okay, my bad. I'm new at this journalistic thing, so, you know, little mistake. So yeah, happy birthday in advance. Once again, man, thank you so much for taking your time to accept my invitation, and also breaking down so many business jewels and gems that you dropped so many gems today. I think someone asked if we're going to save this live. We will save it. I'll try to download it, try to put it on Facebook, or try to share it for as many people.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.
We'll be on the lookout. We'll wait for you for your announcement on Monday. And I don't know. Do you want to say something before we go?
Listen, Thierry Lindor everywhere. You could Google me and then follow me on whatever platform shows up. And if you don't follow me, follow somebody that looks like your future kids. And if you don't follow me or support me, just remember this: support who celebrates you and not who tolerates you. And that's something I want to leave everybody on. Stop surrounding yourself with people that tolerate you, people that diminish you, people that make you quarantine yourself in your mind, forces you to have mental health issues. Fuck them. Fuck them, and stay positive with yourself. Surround yourself with people that celebrate you and don't just tolerate you. And then stay tuned, because Monday we're going to shock the world.
Oh, yeah, we're ready for that. So once again, thank you very much, everyone watching. We'll see you next week. Thierry, once again, thanks a lot, man.